Okay, last part of September 20th, we're going to try to run through the extra credit stairs here. So notice I've already got a couple building sections cut east to west. Our stair is going to go from the basement up to the first floor and first floor up to the second floor. So we got two separate stairs. Question?
We did those earlier. How do we get them to come back?
The sections?
Yes.
You could go to VG and look under annotation and scroll down to sections. And then just recheck that box. So if you had the sections turned off, you can turn it back on. Now, right now, I'm not going to bother to show the grids, and since this is a working view, I'm just going to VG or VH the grids off here. Also, on my sections, I like to break them in the middle so that that line doesn't run all the way through and get in the way of things visually. Okay, and I'm done with these dimensions that I had for assignment D, the doors. I'm just going to kill all those. Because I want to clear the deck for this stair. Okay, let's start with the basement stair. So I'm going to go down to level 0. And I'm going to leave the grid on and the pipe columns there because we've got to thread the stair past those. So we go to Home and we hit Stairs. And then we go and we look at the different stair types. So we've got monolithic stair, which would be like a cast concrete stair. We've got residential, closed two sides, left open, open two sides. We've got the open riser, and then we have an open riser with a middle stringer. So you're kind of catching on that the properties of type properties of stairs get into how does the stair go together, what are the rules, and also even to what is the rise over run relationship between the how high can you go on risers and how shallow can you go on treads. So let's start with the open riser because that's what we're going to use in the basement. And let's edit the type just to see how the type properties are set up. Well, it says minimum tread depth 11 inches. Well, we don't want to have 11-inch treads. We know we're tight on space, and if you've been in the basement of a lot of these older houses, they would not meet code on the stair rise over run relationship. So we're going to treat it as if it's an existing house with one of those. So I'm going to change the stair type. I'm going to duplicate it and call it basement stair. And I'm going to go in and say, okay, let's cut down on the minimum tread depth, and let's make it, I'm going to run it all the way down to 10 inches. And then I'm going to say maximum riser could be all the way up to 8 inches. And the nosing, I don't want to have a profile. I just want to have default. So it'll be squared off because these are probably just 2x planks that they're using for the treads. This is a crudely built stair. And then the tread thickness I'm going to set to 5 inches, so we'll just say they use 2x's. Nosing will still be 1 inch, but there's really no riser there. And then, what else? We want to say the tread material. We probably won't use cherry wood for this crude basement stair, so I'm just going to put wood studs as my material. Wood stud layer. And really the stringer material, there's no riser material because it's an open riser stair. So I'm going to change the stringer to be wood studs as well, or we call it lumber, but that's just the material that's in our project. So now, I'm in the stair command. I've dealt with the stair type. Now I'm ready to start. I'm in a sketch mode here, right? And this is a different kind of sketch mode than floors and roofs and ceilings. We haven't done ceilings yet. But the way a sketch mode for a stair works is you've actually got 3 different kinds of lines you can draw. Remember, with floors, you just have those magenta outlines that you're doing, unless you get into slope arrows on a floor. On a roof, you can do certain things. Well, in a stair, you can either draw a straight run of the stair, and let's start with that. So on your draw panel, there's 3 different buttons here. There's drawing the run of the stair, which is like running the center line in a certain direction. Or you can draw the actual boundaries and say, okay, I want this stair to curve, and so I'm going to draw a curve here and there. Then I'm going to come back and draw each riser. So the green lines are boundaries, the black lines are risers. and the blue line is a run of the stair. So I'm just going to play around here for a minute. I'm going to do the run, and what Revit's going to do is it's going to assume that the stair starts at the level I'm at, which is level 0, basement, and go up to the next floor level, which is level 1. So it's already done calcs in its head, and it says Hayden said you could go as much as 8-inch high for the risers. So it's going to divide the floor difference by 8 inches and figure out how many risers we need, and therefore the number of treads will be calculated in between the risers. So if I start drawing, Revit is thinking ahead of me. And as I go, if you look there in gray, it says 7 risers created, 6 remaining. So it's assuming that the treads are going to be 10 inches, so that 5 feet is 60 inches, which is 6 times 10, with a riser at the bottom and top. So that's how it's gotten to 7 risers. So if I keep moving, and I go up to where the end of the gray box is shown, it should say 13 risers created, 0 remaining. So Revit, in its wisdom, calculated that I needed 13 risers to get from the basement to the first floor, and it's basing the width of that sketch on whatever width property I had in here. So I'm going to escape once, and I'm going to change the width. 3 feet is fine, so I'm going to use that. So I'm going to try again. Hang on here. Okay. So I'm going to start here, which is the bottom of the stair, and I'm going to go up to there and end it. So it draws in the blue line that I ran for the run, draws in the green boundaries, and it draws in the black risers. Now I'm going to measure with the tape measure here from one to the next, and sure enough, that's 10 inches. The width is 3 feet, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 times 8 would be 104 inches, which is what? 8 foot 8, is that right?
Yep.
And so if I temporarily go to my south elevation here, from 0 down to 8 foot 4 is the basement. So the risers must be a little less than 8 inches, because if they were a full 8 inches, it would go 8 foot 8. So that's how Revit has figured it. So I go ahead and say finish the sketch, and Revit draws the actual stair in plan. It dashes in above the little cut line. It puts an up arrow and a text that says up, and it puts a railing on either side. So now let's look at that in 3D. And I'm going to carve out my section box so I can see what's going on here. I would not want to try to do a stair without a section box, I'm telling you. There's my basement, open riser, stair. Now look at how the railings are dangling off the sides. That's just something that sometimes happens, and you'll notice when you select the railing, there's a flip arrow. So if I flip it so that it's over the stair instead of outboard of the stair, then those vertical balusters, see if I can use open here, those vertical balusters will actually land on the stair. Now, I've seen a lot of basements, and they don't follow code on the baluster spacing, so I'm going to make another kind of handrail. I'm going to edit and duplicate, and I'm going to call this handrail-basement. This is a non-code compliant thing. Now this gets really tricky, but I'll just do it very quickly. Baluster placement. Instead of every where's the spacing? 4 inches from previous. I'm going to space them at 1 foot apart. So now that's probably more like what you're going to see going down to the basement in one of these older houses. So I can select that railing and do the same thing, change it to that handrail basement that I just made. So there's our basement stair. Now we've got to cut a hole in the floor or we have a problem getting upstairs. So let's go back to the level 1 plan, work view. And I'm going to go to wireframe temporarily. And then I'm going to put my stair so that I've got exactly 2 inches of clearance between the edge of the stair and the wall. Now it's sometimes hard to tell which is railing and which is stair, so I'm going to select the stair to make sure that dimension goes to the stair. And then I'm going to say I want that to be 2 inches. And then I'm going to put an opening in the floor here. And I got to start the opening at least a little bit away from that cased opening doorway, otherwise you're going to be trying to walk through the doorway and run into the railing. So I'm going to go back to hidden line, but I'm going to go to underlay, and set it up to be the basement plan and see if I can see the stair. Well, that didn't work, so I'm going to undo that. So I'm just going to start by drawing my opening and then adjust it after I'm done. So how do you build an opening in a floor? A couple ways you could do it. I could select the floor and edit the boundary and throw a rectangle in there and finish. And if I do that, then I've got a hole in my floor. That's not the way I'm going to do it, because the problem with that is it's harder to move an opening if it's within the sketch of the floor. So another way Revit gives you is on the opening button of the Home tab. I guess it wasn't on an opening. Here it is, opening. I'm going to do a vertical opening. Then it asks me to pick the thing I'm cutting the opening in, which is the floor. And then I'm in sketch mode, so I'm going to pick the face of the stud with the Pick Lines button here. Tab click. And then I'm going to pick a line and go out 2 inches from that railing, which is also the edge of the stair. So I'm going to offset 2 inches when I do the Pick Lines button here. There's that line. And then I'm going to just draw a line that's going to be so many inches over it. That's 2 inches back. I forgot to turn off the offset. Let's go ahead and move that up another 2 inches, so it's 4 inches away from the opening of the encased opening. Then I'm just going to trim those. Now before I can tell how far this way to go, I'm going to have to see that stair. So I'm just going to temporarily draw a line and trim it off so I can finish my opening and see where the stair lands. Now, those of you who've designed stairs as an architect, you know you want to cut a section through the stair longitudinally. So I'm going to go to the section button, create a building section cut through the stair, and then I'm going to go to that view. There's my stair. One thing I don't like about the way the settings are in Revit is it doesn't heavy up the lines that you're cutting through on the stair. So that's not a VG issue because I want it to be this way globally for the project. And remember, VG is affecting how you override settings just in the one view you're looking at. But if you want to go to the general setup of all the way things look, by the way, that's a column, believe it or not, so I want to go to a fine level of detail so I can see the column in the view. I go to Manage Object Styles for that. And I say, okay, look at how walls, there's a 5 heavyweight outline around the cut part of a wall. Stairs, on the other hand, are 1 and 1. Floors are 2 and 5. So I'm going to do my stairs as 4 for the cut line weight. So now when you're cutting through those treads, it looks like it's cut in section. And then I'm going to check and see, I came pretty doggone close to hitting that right. So from that riser to there, you got to be kidding me. I just guessed. I don't know how in the world I happened to hit that right on. There's got to be something wrong with that. It's 10 inches. Scare myself a little bit. Anyway, we're going to check head clearance here. So let's draw a detail line, which is just on the glass of this section view. And the shortcut for that is DL. It's on the annotate ribbon. And I'm going to pick the line style called lines, which is a green line. That's a built-in line style. Trace from nosing to nosing along the angle. And then I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to do a copy vertically. And the head clearance by code is 6'8", I think. 6'8". We may not meet that in this little house. You know, a lot of houses have a head knocker for a basement. So I'm going to move it back down to 6'4". And so if I want that opening to really give me the head clearance I need, it's going to have to come all the way back to here. I don't have that much room because my cased opening is in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower it down and say, let's just get 6 foot of clearance here. Move it down another 4 inches. So short people like me could walk by without hitting their head. And that's still not going to do it, so I have a couple of options. I could move the stair further over this way. Let's see how far away it is from the face of that wall, because we've got to be able to get a door to get down under the other stair. 2 foot 11 and a half. That's pretty tight. Now, let me attach that to the stair. Whoops. I'm going to move the stair so that it's 3 foot 8, which means I'm going to have 2 foot 10 at the top of the stair. So then I'm going to draw a reference plane. The cool thing about reference planes is they're three-dimensional. So if I'm in a section and I draw a vertical reference plane and I go to a plan, I'm going to see it in that plan view. I'm going to select that reference plane that I just drew, and I'm going to move it 10 inches to the right so that it's going to be where I need that floor opening to stop. And that happens to be right on my column grid, unfortunately, so I'm going to hide that. Or I could just say, well, I want the opening, what did I do here? I want that to be 10 inches more over. I'm just going to copy that 10 inches. So that's where my floor opening should be, so that it's trimmed off right. So if I go back to my first floor plan, and I select that opening, let's go back here for a minute. Too many views. Too many views open. Close, close, close. Close. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. So, in section, I'm going to name that reference plane so I can keep track of it. So there's a name, and I'm going to call that north of first floor stairs opening. And the reason I did that is because when I go back to my plan view now, I can hover, and it'll say that's my north of first floor stair opening. That way I can tell that reference plane from all the others. Then I'm going to pull it in and make it a little bit shorter so it doesn't run all the way out into Kingdom Come here. So now I can just select that opening and edit the boundary and say I want to align that to that reference plane from that edge. And then I'm going to go back to my section view again and see what my hopes are of getting head height. So I've shifted that. I got to move my little line again. Turn on thin lines to make sure I'm right there. So let's do 6 feet. Surely we can get 6 feet of head height. Copy up 6 feet. Wow, look at that. So I'm going to do a reference plane from that intersection, which is the underside of my first floor. Oops. That intersection up to there. So I think I'm going to move my openings. I'm actually going to relocate my openings back 3 inches to the south. I'm just going to select those two guys and move them down. Oops. Move them 3 inches to the south. And so this reference plane here, I'm going to name south opening. And again, when I get back to the plan, there's that reference plane. I want to shorten it so that it doesn't run all the way out into creation. Select my stair opening, edit the boundary. I could just drag that until it lights up and then finish. Now my section looks good. I've got my minimum 6 foot head clearance just at that point. So now let's go ahead and do a stair from the first floor to second floor. So I go to my level 1 existing plan, go back to home, and stair, and I'm going to pick the open, let's see, I want open 2 sides. And then I'm going to start at the same point here. So I'm doing the run. And Revit is figuring a certain rule here. I'm going to edit the type and see what it's basing that on. 11-inch minimum tread. Let's go 10.5 inches. Maximum riser height. Let's set it back to, I think residential code now 7 7/8. So we'll see if we can meet code. 10.5 is actually the tread depth that's minimum for the residential code these days. And that's too far, I think. Go far enough. Let's try again. Run starts here, and I have to complete the number of risers at once, otherwise I'm going to fall short of getting all the way up to the second floor. So I go all the way to that point there, and it should say so many risers, 0 remaining, 15 risers. Alright, let's finish. Let's go back to the section view. And it's possible that the stair could come up over that powder room because we're going to drop a ceiling that's lower in there anyway. So I'm going to start speeding up the process here because I'm running out of time. Let's go to the level 2 plan. Level 1, I want to flip those railings like I did on the basement level. I don't even need that railing because it's up against the wall. So then I'm going to move my stair up against the wall. Redneck mothers. And with your Jeff Walker thing. Then I've got, let's see, I got to get some color here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got 2 railings, and the basement stair is narrower than the first floor stair. So I'm going to go ahead and widen that. I can edit the sketch, and I can just move this so that it's 3'6", because I've got to tuck a wall underneath that. And I can use my trim extend multiple elements so I can lengthen all the treads. I have to fix this sketch once I mess it up. And finish. So now I've got a wider stair on top of a narrower basement stair. And then I have to thread a wall underneath that. So let's go ahead and put in this wall. Go to home, wall, let's pick the 5.5-inch partition. And I'm going to go, location line is going to be finish face exterior, but I want to offset it back 3/4 inch so that the stair will hang out just a little bit. And I'm going to go up to the second floor. So I'm going to start here. And is that the right direction or is that the wrong way? And I'm going to back and flip it that way. So now it should be 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch back. So let's see what mess I've got in 3D here. I'm getting there. So I'm going to raise that. I'm going to select that and edit the profile, which is a trick where you actually sketch the outline of the top of the wall. I'm in sketch mode. I can just pick the underside of that stair stringer and then trim the corners. I know this is fast. Get rid of those 2 sketch lines out there to finish. So now I've got myself a wall that comes up to the underside of the stair, and that's slick. And I want to extend that wall, so I'm going to do the align AL to the face of that wall, the end of that one. Ooh, I messed up my sketch. So I better go back and edit that again. I can do a line to the underside of the stringer. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. Now I've got to squeeze a little door in there to go down to the basement, and that's where it gets really funky. So right here, I've got just enough room to put a very narrow door. That is 2'10", so I'm going to put a 2'4" door in there. So I'll go to the doors, interior swing single. I'm going to duplicate the 28 by 84, and I'm going to call it 28 by 76, let's see. It's going to be a short door, And then I'm going to edit it and make it 76, which is actually 6'4". And then I'm going to take the casing width and I'm going to narrow it down to 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to go to my plan and place that door and just see how she works. Oh, it didn't like it. I must have gone a little too narrow with my casing, so let's try again. This would be... Let's just live with the casing. So then I'm going to drag that door out here. It's the 28 by 76. I'm going to open it into the stair. And let's see how close we came. Where is it?
Yeah, it's like looking wrong.
I'm sectioned through the stair, so I got to back up a little bit. But I have another section right here, so I'm going to flip that one in the other direction. Call that up. And there's my door, and it didn't quite clear the stringer. So, you know, it's a tight squeeze. And really what I'd probably have to do is rebuild the stair with a 10-inch tread instead of a 10.5-inch tread, and maybe a 8.25-inch riser, and monkey around with it, but we're close. So the only other thing I want to finish here is the opening at the second floor. So I'm going to go to Home, and Opening Vertical, pick the floor. I'm just going to draw a rectangle real quick here. And notice I don't have the second floor walls in, so if you do, yours will be more representative. Let's go to 3D now. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap that railing around the floor openings, and that gets a little tricky, so I'm going to go edit the sketch, the path of the railing at the first floor. And what I want to do is bring it out and come around the floor opening at the first floor. So I'm going to draw a line from there, 2 inches over, and see if this works. Wait a minute, I don't have a floor opening there, do I? It's only going to be at the second floor. Let's go to level 2. So here's the railing coming up from below. I can edit that, and I can say, okay, I'm going to draw another little line that comes up 1 inch. There. And what Revit's going to do is it's going to assume that I want this railing to be hosted by the floor, if all works well. So it's hosted by the stair until you get up to the second floor, and then it wraps itself around the floor. So a railing is a hosted element that's hosted either by a stair or a floor. So with that, I'm going to save what I have. I'm going to stop the recording. Session 5. Assignment E.